Hey, my name is Rafael, you watch Rock and Roll Garage, and today we're going to talk about the 10 most underrated Ozzy Osbourne songs. But first, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave your comment below, please. Well, Ozzy Osbourne is one of my favorite musicians of all time, one of my favorite singers of all time. Black Sabbath is my favorite band, so naturally I love Ozzy's solo career, and I think there are a lot of underrated tracks that you might know, you might not know, and we're going to talk about them right now. So we're going to start from the 80s back to the Blizzard of Oz, the first album, that fantastic album that had Randy Rhoads as the guitarist, the late legendary Randy Rhoads. And we're going to talk about the track You Looking at Me, Looking at You. I mean, it sounds like it's a silly title, obviously. You might think, oh, come on, it's a silly title, but it's a great track. If you haven't paid attention to it, you have never heard, you should check it out. And you know, there's an incredible guitar solo. It's just fantastic. Every guitar solo from those first two albums, it's Randy Rhoads. I mean, he is one of the greatest guitarists of all time, and it's really, really a huge loss for music, for metal. It's really sad that he passed away too soon, tragically. And You Looking at Me, You Looking at Me, Looking at You, it always confuses me, but it's a great track. You should check it out. We go to number two. Number two is Rock and Roll Rebel. I'm just a rock and roll rebel. Such a great track. It's from Bark at the Moon, the first album post Randy Rhoads' death. He was replaced by Jake E. Lee, which I think is really probably the most underrated guitarist Ozzy Osbourne ever had. Obviously, Randy Rhoads is the first one. No one can touch him. But, you know, Jake E. Lee was equally important, although he wasn't as flashy as others that Ozzy had. He was, I think he's really, really underrated. Just like Bob Daisley, who was the bassist and you know, did most of the songwriting. And Jake Lee should be more recognized on Ozzy's solo career. He's a fantastic guitarist, and Rock and Roll Rebel is one of the greatest tracks from Bark at the Moon and from Ozzy's discography, in my opinion. So if you haven't heard that one, you should check it out. It's a great track. And we go to the next one, which is another track with Jake Lee. It's from the 1986 album The Ultimate Sin, which is a very underrated album in my opinion as well. And the track is Lightning Strikes. There's even a music video for that one, and it's a great track. It's really, really a good one. It feels like Ozzy. It feels like, you know, the cool thing about Jake Lee, in my opinion, is that he didn't try to copy Randy Rhoads or that sound. He really bring something new to the band, and he did things the way he would normally do. He had his own style, and I think it was really, really cool what he did. And Lightning Strikes is another great track. Should check it out as well. And we move to the next one, which is from the same album, and I think it's a very underrated track as well, which is Killer of Giants. And it's kind of a dark ballad, maybe, you know, it's an anti-war song, and it's another great track. And I remember, you know, you probably might see that I'm younger, and the first rock and roll concert that I ever went to, big rock and roll concert, was Ozzy Osbourne, and it changed my life completely. And I remember clearly from that show, I was a teenager, I was 15, and it was a turning point in my life. And he played that song, and I remember, it was really cool to hear that song because it made me see that it was really a great track, especially when played live. So it was a wonderful experience. It's a great track. You should check it out, that one too. The next one, we go to the 90s. We go to the album Osmosis, released in 1995, and that song is Perry Mason. That is a song that is a little bit more famous than the previous ones we talked about. And, in my opinion, it's the greatest keyboard part in a Ozzy Osbourne song since Mr. Crowley. I mean, Mr. Crowley's up there. It's the greatest one regarding keyboards in Ozzy's solo career, obviously. But Perry Mason has a really, really keyboard intro, and a really good keyboard intro. And it obviously was inspired by that famous TV show from the 50s and 60s. It's another great track from that Ozzy's 90s era. He released great albums in the 90s. I think the 90s era of Ozzy's, it's fantastic. You got No More Tears, you got Osmosis, and etc. Many other good live albums as well. And we go to the next one, which is also from Osmosis, and it's a beautiful ballad, and which is called Old LA Tonight. It's a beautiful ballad. It's a great track. And, I would say it's one of the greatest Zakk Wylde guitar riffs. Zack's guitar solo. Zack's guitar solo is just, it feels bluesy. He makes the guitar, it's such a huge emotion. It's really emotional, and it's just a fantastic solo. You should check it out, that too, just for the solo. It's a great track, but the solo is everything, that song. You should check it out, Old LA Tonight. And we go to the thousands, and we go to the album Down to Earth. And although Dreamer is a great track from that album, obviously probably the most famous one, but I really like the track called Junkie. And it's got obviously strong lyrics. It's about a serious theme, but it has a really interesting guitar riff, in my opinion. It's a great track. It's a hidden gem, let's say. It's a nice B-side, for example. And I think it's a really cool track. So check that one out as well. And we go to 2005, and it's not originally Ozzy Osbourne's song, but it's a really nice version that he did, and which is Sympathy for the Devil. He covered the Rolling Stones. It's from the 2005 album Undercover, where he covered many incredible artists. He covered John Lennon, he covered the Beatles, he covered Mountain, he covered Cream, and also the Rolling Stones. And I mean, it's really cool to hear Ozzy singing Sympathy for the Devil. And there's a few different things they are added to the song. And there's a cool and funny part where he says, there can only be one devil, so one must go. Like if it was a conversation he was having with the devil. So it's a really cool track. If you haven't heard that version, you should check it out. The whole album, it's a cool album. There are many cool versions that he did on that album. And we go to 2007, and we're gonna talk about Black Rain, which is the title track of that album he released 2007, and he had Zakk Wylde back to the band. And it's a really, really cool track. It's a marching riff, the guitar riff is really cool. It's a hypnotic thing, in my opinion. It's really cool. It's a heavy song. It's got heavy lyrics, and I think it's a very underrated Ozzy track, and it's kind of forgotten. I mean, those albums Ozzy recorded in the thousands, they are kind of forgotten now. He doesn't perform those songs live, and obviously they get a little bit overshadowed with time. And I think it's a great track. Really cool song. And we moved to 2011, 2010. This last song is from the album Scream, which was the album with Gus G, with the guitarist Gus G. And this album has some cool songs like Scream, like Let Me Hear You Scream, and some others, but I selected the track Soul Sucker. And it's a cool track. You know, it doesn't sound that much like Ozzy usually sound. It's a different song, and it's cool that he did a different thing on that track. It's got a nice rhythm, and I think it's a very underrated track as well. And that's it. I hope you like the video. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave your comment, and tell me what you think. Do you like any of these songs? Do you think there are other songs that should have been mentioned? And that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.